Hey everybody. So everybody has had a chance on the YouTube end to chime in with this Unearthed Arcana for Mages of Strixhaven, and I'd like to go into a little more detail on things that you can do with this Unearthed Arcana with maybe an eventual character. That most people are just describing what the different colleges are of Strixhaven, and I want to go a little more into what you could be doing with it, things that I thought were cool. So first up, we had the Lorehold College, and the idea of Lorehold College was conversing with ancient spirits, and it utilizes the statues around the area. I don't know where you're supposed to get all these statues, but every once in a while, when you need an ancient companion, you can call one down from an area, location, whatever the thing is, and put it into a human-sized sculpture, and that sculpture comes to life either as a mage or as a warrior, whatever it is that you might need. There are lots of different cool things it can do. It can heal, it can fight, it can cast spells if it's a sage, all these different things that can help you out. It's basically your sidekick. Well, where does it come from? If it's a bard, if it's a warlock, if it's a wizard, the bard, and well, let's maybe talk about the warlock first. The warlock has to have a patron. Okay, it's gifted its power from somewhere. The wizard is going to go and learn, and the bard is somehow going to create off of their own imagination and skill. The college being the patron, the people of the college, maybe they are old students, maybe it's the just collective consciousness of the school, maybe it's an old group or council of teachers or professors that used to work there. It's a great idea. What if we were to separate it and create our own version? Well, maybe it's a band of warriors from your tribe. Maybe it's people that were part of a great battle that you were studying. Maybe it's like Deadpool and it's all the voices in your head, and you can unleash one of them and put them into this humanoid or a medium. It actually, I don't think it says humanoid. I think it just says medium-sized statue. Eventually, you get to do a stone shape, and I think that's when you can make your own. But otherwise, you have to just walk through a sculpture garden all the time. That's okay sometimes, but what about others? Also, what if it's a different gendered? What if it's a different gendered sculpture than, or different species sculpture from the warrior that you pull down? Maybe you have like the Warriors 3 from the Marvel Comics Norse mythology type stuff, and you swap around the bodies with the personalities and you move them around. It's a great point for comic effect, right? That part would be pretty easy. For the bard, maybe you are a sculptor. Maybe that is the nature of your talents that you bring to the world, and then you can always create your own sculpture out of carcasses, out of dirt if you needed to. Maybe you just shape it with your fingers in some mud, and then that comes to life that way. There's a lot of different things you can do. It's an interesting concept of how you work with the restriction of having to have a sculpture there, and then the concept of putting spirits into it. There's a lot of reasons, different things you can get your power from. As a wizard, you study stuff. The wizard tends to make sense in all of these schools because you are just there to study, and that's where they get their power from, is studying. Moving down, we had the red-blue. Actually, let's go over the colors. If you played Magic the Gathering, Lorehold is supposed to be red-white. So you get the enchantments, and then you got the direct damage from the red. You have a little bit of protection from the white. So that's the idea behind it. Moving down to Prismari, red-blue. So Counterspell, and Lightning Bolt. Shows you how long it's been since I played Magic the Gathering, like 25 years or something like that. But that's what I remember it as. You had the direct damage, and then you had manipulation of other things that were going on. The way that this works is you are a druid, a sorcerer, and a wizard. I don't know why they don't have bard, since it's supposed to be inclusive of physical movement and dance, that it's constantly referring to artistry. So I'm not sure that they're going to always leave it those three. They may change it up. But it does make a little sense off the sorcerer in it doesn't have to necessarily be from your blood, but it does come from within you, the nature of the power, and that comes in a little bit. There are runes, and there's draconic bloodline. Some people have made like vampiric bloodline. There's a bunch of different, the giant soul or divine soul sorcerers, that they're not necessarily from the breeding of the character, but they could be from some other part of the character. But the sorcerer's strength and spells come from within, and the way that they manipulate things can be part of their understanding. The sorcerer is able to change things up and manipulate through the meta magic, so that might make sense here as this character is moving, and it's the motion that changes the environment around them to fire, ice, or lightning as they go about things. I think of them as like Dazzler from the X-Men, where they're doing all these different effects. She does it with light, changing it from sound and turning it into light. You're taking it from the environment, but still creating a performance and dance out of it. So I would say that maybe the druid actually might get kicked out, because there's already a wildfire druid, and maybe change it to the bard, and it's a dance bard to be with Prismari. Then Quandrix, sorcerer and wizard. This is the math-based college. Blue and green. They have the crazy expansive growth or shrink, and then also the weird effects that can happen as part of the world from the blue. The sorcerer part is your understanding of math, and your understanding of math leads to an understanding of the universe, and through that understanding of the universe, you're able to shape it and do things that are magical. That's the sorcerer's power, but it's not coming from the gift of the gods. It's not coming from a draconic bloodline. It's coming from your understanding of the universe. So if you have some character that is like the Question or Rorschach, that thinks that there are constant conspiracies behind things because they're always seeing the unhidden or the hidden world, that might be an interesting character type to portray using this Quandrix school, that they are at the school looking for the answers that they are one of the only ones to be able to find within the universe that they see and exist and go about them. Very Philip K. Dick. That's, I think, really an interesting way to go about it. Mix it up with stuff from Van Richten, mix it up with stuff from Rime of the Frost Maiden, because that had a lot of horror elements to go along with it. I think that would be great for these types of sorcerers. Wizard, you spend a lot of time in math class and you learn some stuff. So that's where I don't know if all the spells will remain the way they are, but that's how I see the class as it exists. White black gives us Silver Quill. This is the eloquence. This is the jokes. This is the people that are able to take what I originally started, I believe, as the Jester Unearthed Arcana, and eventually that, I think, turned into the Drunken Master Monk, one of the other monk classes. It used to be a bard, and then the ideas got moved around. This is another opportunity for a bard to be able to do damage with their words. The Inky Shroud, it comes from the word itself. Maybe you're a comic book artist and you're making the monsters come to life, or you're like Death Note. This would be the one that might be able to use that with their silvery barbs. And they have psychic damage and other things that they might be able to do. These people are the trash talkers. Warlock. I don't know what would be the patron, but someone like Loki maybe would be a better patron here as the creator of mischief. Maybe Hermes, the Greek equivalent, was the god not only of speed and of travel and a protector of lots of different folks, but he was also known as the trickster god. He fooled some people and created the first lyre, and he did all this type of stuff. So maybe if you're looking for a different god, you can do that. Or there is a character named Teal Eulenspiegel, Clive Barker used in his fantastic play Crazy Face. This is the first time I had heard of him. But he is a trickster known in various European mythologies. There's some scatological and other things that can also be attributed to him. But if you had a great jokester, then you could bring that out. If you want it to be George Carlin, that would be great too. You want it to be the bard of George, or the warlock of George Carlin, perfect. Throw Bill Hicks in there. You just, all the great comedians. Oh man, Rickles, Don Rickles. If you were smart enough to have Rodney Dangerfield and Don Rickles as your patrons and be able to play that off, that would be the best game of D&D ever. That would be perfect. Then we have black and green. The swamps, the decay, all that terrible stuff is Winterbloom. So this is the only one that is not a wizard available class. This is not made from learning by books. This is made learning from the environment coming into you. So what could possibly be a warlock patron here? It's, in my opinion, something closer to Swamp Thing. This would be a great opportunity to bring in the ideas of the green, or the green and the red from DC Comics, and have the Parliament of Trees and all these different type of things. Different aspects of the swamp. They can be positive, they can be negative. It can be the fungal side on the black, and it could mean you can have them team up with Spore Rangers and Druids and all that kind of stuff. Swarm Master Ranger, I think, and then the Circle of Spores Druid. And then you have basically a swamp thing, vegetative shapeshift that you could do in different forms. I think that would be pretty awesome. How would you use that? What pact would you use? If you made them Pact of the Blade, would it be like a Skald? If they're this type of warlock? Someone who is equal parts storyteller and adventurer. If you made them similar to like an Oath of Glory paladin, if they're just out there for themselves. The idea here is you have a lot of brews, you have a lot of weaknesses, things that you can throw at them. Maybe even make them not just Archfey, what's the one from Van Richten's, Hexblood. One of those types of characters might fit really well in here as part of the Witherbloom school. Then other options. Overall, I had some ideas. You could have a combat librarian, Indiana Jones, as any of the wizard type classes that are in there. While Indiana Jones can throw a punch, it's mainly he knows where to go because he's studied so much that you can have that type of character. And I had one note for Lorehold. If you were empowered by the spirits of the people as a fallen avenger, then that would make sense for a school's ancient spirits to be empowering you directly. And I think that would be pretty cool. There is an Unearthed Arcana about the modern aspects of D&D, using the rules in a modern context. And one of the ideas was to have a cleric empowered by the city. I think you can take that right here into Lorehold and that would be a lot of fun. Never mind what the spells you get. Never mind what the skills you get. The main idea being like the concept of the character should be what drives your role play. If you're just in there to min-max it, then you don't need to hear anything that I have to say, because all you care about is min-maxing. But if you care about, oh, there was a different option that somebody thought of that you might think is cool, go from that. I would like to personally take a College of Silver Quill person, and like I said, do the Spirit of the Comedians. If there was a way to bring in like a spirit bard from Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, in conjunction with the Silver Quill, then that might be a great way to multi-class. I'm not sure exactly how these things are going to shake out at the end. It's all going to depend on your guys' responses to the survey. But if any of those sounded cool, throw an idea in the comments. I do a weekly catch-up of and recap of everything that came out on Kickstarter, separated out into RPGs and board games. So if there's anything out there in the world that you thought you might be missing out on, as I set my paper aside, never mind the crackling, then you can always check in with me if you haven't already, and you'll be informed of everything that you can go out and purchase out there on Kickstarter. And if there's anything else on Indiegogo or GameFound, I'll do what I can to catch up on that too. So I hope this was something that you were interested in, and that will get the ideas flowing about what type of character you can put out if you haven't already started thinking about it from other people's coverage. I know they've been around for a couple of weeks talking about things, but I got neighbors that are always blasting the Beatles, so it's finally quiet enough so I can ask you myself. And yeah, thanks a lot for sticking in.